All right. Good morning, everybody. All right, we got a little bit of a longer daf today. So we left off yesterday discussing today's daf Chavtes. So we left off the bottom of Chavtes Amud Bey's bottom line. We're discussing yesterday the Mishnah regarding somebody basically who was sentenced to death. Do we? So the Mishnah says we sentence to death. We still give them both chumras until we know that they were killed. And it was both chumras that they were alive, and also possibility that they were alive, and the possibility that they were dead. So Ikeda Amri Amar Rav Yosef. So says Rav Yosef, Lo Shanu. We have now learned that we could assume that they maybe the chumras of them being dead and alive. Only of the chavim, because perhaps you can go ahead and bribe the courts, save their life. Maybe they were not executed. On based in Israel, came the nafik ladina, the ktala katli le. At the top of Chavtes Amud Aleph, but with the basin of Israel, once they, once the din was, sentenced to death, then they certainly kill him, and therefore you don't have to be chayshesh that he was not killed.
Yeah, but then we had a day it was the other way around.
Yeah, there's the Ikadamri.
Yes. That with Jewish courts, we could find the schus for the guy.
Yeah, okay, we said that. So Amar Le Abaye. So it says Abaye. So based in Shal Yisrael, now you have to the chazal. So what do you mean? Based in Israel also, right? There is they could perhaps see a merit in the guy's din and maybe reverse the din. So my answer is no. Ki chazal is chusa makut lik madina. Only the zechus only before the Gemara din. However, basa Gemara din suloi chazilei zechusa. But after the Gemara din, they do not see a zechus for him. So leim Messiah. Let's say this is a proof that based in Shal Yisrael, once he's sentenced, and certainly you can assume that they did execute him. So call Malcolm Sheyamdu Shnai V'Yamar Meidi Manais B'Leish Ploni Shening Mardina of based in Shal Ploni Uploni right based in Shal Ploni Eidav Hareza Yaharek. So we have this. Thank you. We have this brisa that says, if you have two witnesses come to a court and say, hey, see that guy over there? We saw him in Seattle or whatever it was, that he was, they sentenced him to death, and these two guys were the Eidim, and so on and so forth. And then we go ahead and we execute the guy based upon this testimony based in. So what do you see here? It's a proof that there wasn't maybe chashish for a reversal. So we're not chashish. So my answer is no, Duma Barech Shani, right? So perhaps that since he fled, therefore he was certainly guilty. And therefore, there was no chashash of a reversal. So not necessarily a proof. Amen. So Tashma, come and listen. Shama, me based in ish plenty mace, ish plenty naharag. If they hear from a based in of Israel, that certain person was mace and certain person was narag, right? Narag is referring to the armistice of Beis Din. Yasiu as ishto, you can go ahead and marry his wife. Can go ahead and remarry based upon that. However, if it was from mikum natrisim sha'adik chavim, it was according to the chavim. Ish plani mace, ish plani narag. A certain man was mace and certain man was narag or executed. Al yasiu as ishto. We don't listen to those courts. So the Gemara says, well, okay, we have to define these terms. My mace, my narag. What does it mean, mace and narag? Ilay, mace mamish. If it means he was mamish dead, the narag mamish, and then narag he was executed. Devasek, am I low? Why am I? Al Yisus Ishto. But regarding the Goyim, when they say that, why do we not believe them? How come along? Anytime that someone says something casually or not necessarily, they're not testifying, but they're saying casually, then we believe them. So we should believe these Kaish cards that they said the guy was dead. Elalav, no, rather it must be not that they died. Rather, mace means yaitzilamers, means he's going out to die. He was sickly ill. V'nerag yaitzilaharag, and nerag is going out. He's going out to be executed. Ektani based in Shai so Yasi Ishto, and it says there that you can go ahead and marry his wife can marry based upon that because we're not chayshish for a reverse of the verdict. So the Gemara answers no. The flex once again. Liyela makes mamish benarag mash really means that he actually died and he narag. The klasik abed chavim amaylo. So by other chavim, why do we not believe them? That anytime someone says something casually, we do listen, we believe them. So Hani Mili. That's only something that really that not necessarily that's something to be proud in or something they have shaykhs with. But something that they take pride in, right? That they want to boast about. So that maybe they're not telling the truth. So then, therefore, that's the reason why the Oitik Chavim are not believed in such a case. Fine. Naya Mishnah, middle of Chav Tes Amud Aleph. Maybe get the Eretz Yisrael. One who goes ahead and he's appointed a shaliach in Eretz Yisrael. In other words, he does not have to go ahead and say it was written and signed before me. So he's regular, just a delivery service. And he becomes sick. He can go ahead and find himself a shaliach. Right? Basically, a shaliach will make a shaliach. However, if the husband says, if he says, okay, when you go ahead and give her the get and go bring back my collection of baseball cards, he cannot go ahead and appoint a shaliach to go ahead and deliver the get and get the baseball cards. Why? Because the husband who made the original shaliach basically wanted I only trust you with the baseball cards. Who says I go ahead and you can make somebody else, right? So therefore, if it was a case of, hey, go ahead and retrieve my object, then you can't go ahead and appoint a shaliach for that. If it's just simply deliver the get and he became sick, then he can go ahead and appoint himself a shaliach. Fine, that was the Mishnah. Zok the Gemara. Amar Rav Kahana Cholat Tanan. It says only in the case of Mishnah when he got sick. Then he can appoint somebody else. Mashma. That if he was not sick, he would not be able to. So Gemara says Pshita. It's obvious Cholat Ketani. Our Mishnah says Cholat. If he was sick, of course, it means only if he's sick. Then he can make a messenger. So Ma'adazim, what would you have said? Who had in the mills? Who had in Afagat Cholat? Maybe you can say even if he wasn't sick, he can also appoint a shaliach. And maybe the reason why it says chala is just that's more common. That's the reason why, right? It doesn't, it's more of a common reason, and not necessarily the guy has a tea time. The next day he can't deliver it. Mashmalon, that's bedafka chala and not the regular person. So the Gemara says heichi dami. All right. So what is this case? What basically is the Baal telling the shaliach? If he says deliver or haylech go. Right? We see he doesn't care who does. He just cares that the get is delivered. So when he says haylech, even if he's not sick, he should be able to go ahead and appoint the shaliach. If he says you go, if he says you go, then he gets sick. Then it sounds like he bedafka wanted this individual to go ahead and deliver the get. So even if he's sick, he shouldn't be able to go ahead and deliver it. If it's the opinion of Rav Shimon Gamliel, who we're soon going to see, even if he got sick, also that doesn't work, right? The Tanya is going to advise get zeli ishti. If someone says, take this, right, deliver this get to my wife, then that shaliach can make himself his own shaliach. But if he says, if he tells this shaliach, you deliver this get, you can't go ahead and send somebody else. Whether he says you give or even just he says deliver the get to my wife, ein hashaliach isa shaliach. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says a shaliach cannot make a shaliach. So once again,
is that general or just by get? Is the old general shaliach can't make a shaliach?
We'll soon see. We'll soon see what the reason is. All right, good question. Now, Iboy Sema, Haylech, right? V'hu dechala. Maybe he says, maybe over here in this case we're talking about is when he says deliver it, but he said when he said deliver it, right? And then he was sick at the time, right? So when he says go and he was sick, so then it implies, right, that he can go ahead and make a shaliach in this case, and maybe that was the case they're arguing in. Or v'boy sema ataylech. Let's say he says you go deliver. And then v'chala, then afterwards he became sick. So maybe that's different. Maybe in that case over there when he says you go and there was no sickness, that's the case when they say you can't go ahead, and give to somebody else. But if he says you go and he got sick, maybe that's different. Than maybe our Mishnah is, responding to that case, which is different than this Brisa. Or v'boy sema, Rav Shimon Gamliel, maybe it's Rav Shimon Gamliel, and Rav Shimon Gamliel says if you say you go or just deliver, it doesn't work at all. The chalashani and being sick is different than this case. Fine. Tanan. Hamevi get Beretz Yisrael b'chala hareze meshalcha b'yad acher. So our Mishnah says one who goes ahead and brings a get in Eretz Yisrael, right? Once again, there is no requirement to say fanei nachtam, and if he becomes sick, he can send the messenger can go ahead and send it in somebody else's. Yes, so as a question. He tells two people, right, give a get or write a get for my wife. These people, since he told them go ahead and write a get, only these people can go ahead and write and deliver the get. It sounds like Badafka, these people that he's telling and not others. So Amar Abaye. So says Abaye, Hasan Tavamai, Mishum Bizayan Debal. Over there, right? And over there, maybe it's the Bizayan Debal. The husband didn't know how to write a get. So he told people, you guys write and deliver. So therefore, he didn't want others to go ahead and do it. He would be embarrassed about it. So therefore, that's the reason why Badafka, those people that he points them, right? Whether it's two or three, perhaps he wants them to be like a Beis Din, but go ahead and write this get and deliver it. But he shows his hakpada that Badafka them and nobody else. But in our case, it's just to deliver, right? So delivering, there's no embarrassment of the husband that he's not able to go ahead and do something. He just wasn't available. So therefore, Balo Kapi, so therefore, maybe in our case, a shliach can go ahead and make a shliach. And Rav Amar,
by two, it says just to new get. By three, it says keep it.
Right. So by two, right? So in two, they're like witnesses, right? You're the witness, right? I mean, you look at Rashi for a second. Get us. He says to them, give a get. He doesn't give it to them, right? Rashi says, "V'lo nasan get," right? So basically, asan eidim yavi shelo amar lehem atem atzmechem kisvuhu harei elu yichlu v'yizno. Since he's not handing them over a get, in other words, it's not just mere delivery. He's basically telling two people, "Hey, you guys are witnesses. You guys go ahead and write a get." Because if you say to one person, "Write a get and give it," right? So then that would be different. Over here, he's telling him, "You guys, right, as witnesses, write a get for me and then deliver it." So therefore, it's bedafka, including the writing in this case. And he's not handing anything over. But it would be the same also with the three.
This seems to be a raya that we need a Beis Din to do it because it says the shlosha.
Right, but the first case is two, so it can't be approved. It's three, right?
But at least for the writing of the get.
Right. But both of them he's telling him to write.
I'm not great in Rashi, but doesn't Rashi the next one?
Right. So the shlosha. All right, so he says, "Oh, shlosha kisvu gevachule yichtuvu." So all they write, "Heim atzmam," they themselves. Shaharei amar lehem kisvu. Ava amar l'shlosha tnu get liishti. But if he says, "Give away to my wife," yomir la'acherim v'yichtuvu. Right? If they were specifically made as a Beis Din, then Beis Din can go ahead and appoint others, right? But over here, if he's pointing people, so if it's something is unique. Is a Beis Din is unique, as we'll soon see the next Mishnah, that a Beis Din go ahead and make even shaliach for a fanei nachlam, even though they didn't witness it, but that's like a psak of the Beis Din. So if it was done with Taras Beis Din, then that's different than just making a messenger. So now it's the case of two where they're not a Beis Din, right? So once there's instructions to write and give, we see that you can't make an additional shaliach. As a shaliach, the power of shaliach. Yes. As a power of Beis Din, they can go ahead and have someone else do it, but not as a power of a shaliach. So if someone is a shaliach, then they can't. And if someone is a shaliach, and they tell them, write and give, that can't be given over. So we're saying, what's the difference when you tell someone write and give versus give? So the first teretz, I think, was Abaye, says, it has to do it because he doesn't want others to know that he's incapable of writing a get. It's an embarrassment to be in the bell. But in our case, where it's just delivery, so delivery can give somebody else to deliver. It's not an embarrassment.
Is the Gemara saying that when it comes to delivery, the act of delivering it for the husband is that it's not embarrassing? It's just
no. The only embarrassing part over here was that he didn't know how to write a get, so he told others to write a get for him. And Rav Amar Mishum Mile the Mile Ninu Mile Lo Mim Son LaShaliach. So Rav says different svar. He says that which he gives over to the two or three in that case he's giving a command. He's not giving something tangible. If you're not giving something tangible, then there's nothing to give over to a third party because it was just words. I can't give over a command, right? If it was an item I gave, hey, give this item, right? He's holding the get, give this item. So then an item could be transferred from one to another. But if I give someone a command to do something, he can't go ahead and tell someone to go ahead and command that person to do something. And what's nafkamina between the Rava and Abaye? My benayu, ikabenayu, shaliach matana. Go ahead and write the document of matana that I'm going to award him $1,000. So Rav says, right, a matana is not like a get. In other words, that even though one has to go ahead and write, right, let's say this document, so therefore it's not like a get. Why is that? Because over here, right, there's no bizayin the bal. Shmuel Amar matana harei get. And Shmuel says, no, it is like a get, and as you can't give it over. Why? Because it was a command of words, and therefore, if you hold it's a command of words, then you can't give over a command of words. But if it has to do with embarrassment, he's not embarrassed in case of the shtar matana, right? Because it's not like he doesn't have the ability to write, I will give you $1,000. Fine. 2 dots. First wide line, bottom of Testament Aleph. The Omar Loi totally if he says, oh, go ahead, retrieve for me my baseball cards, give her the get, we're good to go. So Amar Shlakish, it's a kanshan, Rebbe over here. Rebbe taught, Ein hashel roshay lahashel, right? So he told him, go ahead and pick up the item. So our mission is saying we don't trust him to tell somebody else to go ahead and get the item. He dafka one of this person. So we can learn from here that if someone borrows something from somebody, he can't go ahead and lend it out. Right, even though he had the ability to borrow it, but he doesn't have permission to lend out to give it to a third party, just like our case. And also, a person who rents something is not able to go ahead and rent it out to somebody else. So Rabbi Yechanan, there's no chiddush, right? This over here is no chiddush. Of course, everyone knows, even the young students in the cheder. Ella zimnim, rather over here, zimnim the gita nami lo havi. The nasa kimi shamar lo al tikusha al ba'is girsha be'aliyah. So over here, now it could be that this is a stipulation. In other words, it's a tanai in the get, just like if someone told somebody, "Hey, go ahead and divorce my wife, but only go divorce her in the first floor of the house," and then he divorced her. Then the sheikh went ahead and gave it the divorce upstairs. It's not chal. There was a condition. I want you to do this, and he didn't do it that way. Or al tisha el b'yamin. Go ahead and give it over to her with your right hand, the girsha b'smol, and then he did it with the left. So, and over here, maybe it's a condition. The condition is right. Take the baseball cards back, and then you get and then you give it the get. So, what's the machlekes over here? If the woman saw the shliach coming and says, "Oh, good thing you're here. Let me give you the baseball cards." The hadar shlaka mina get gita, and then she takes the get for the person. Pligi the gita me'aliyahavi. Everyone agrees that it's a good get because the shliach was told basically get the item and then he can give the get. So he got the item, she gave him the item, right, willingly, and then he got, and then then she got the get in return. So ki pligi, what's this machlekes over here? Heicha d'amarle shakel, where he says to him first, shakel minach chayfetz v'hadar havlegita, take for the item from her first, and then give it to her. Then he first gave the opposite order. He gave the get first and then took the item. So is this get chal or not? So Lamaisa, everyone ended up with what they had, but it was out of order, right? So Rabbi Yechanan paisabo, so Rabbi Yechanan says it's no good, right? Because in other words, because there was a condition. Because there was a condition. In other words, you only give the get if you get the item first. So if you didn't fulfill the condition, the tanai, then it's not a good get. Just like if someone says, go ahead and divorce her in Chicago, and he divorces her in Skokie. It was a tanai. The condition is you do it in Chicago. So the condition was she gives you the item, and then you give her the get. It's not the fact that just, okay, make sure you return it, return me my items. It's, this is how I want to do it. So according to Rabbi Yechanan, it would be possible with the first shliach. And certainly if that shliach made another shliach, it wouldn't work. Reish Lakish machshir b'shlucha. And Reish Lakish said it's okay. All they wanted was an exchange of the items. He got the exchange of the items. So this would work with him making even another shaliach because Lamais in the end he got the item and she got the divorce. And certainly, if the original shaliach did it, it would be okay. So therefore, it's machlokes between Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yechon. Rabbi Yechon says it was a tanai. Reish Lakish just says it was it was not a tanai. It was the final result. Fine. Naya Mishnah. Mishnah says Hamedi get Medina Sayyah. Right, one who goes ahead and brings a get from overseas. Now remember, overseas you have to say it was written and signed in front of him. V'chala, and he gets sick. So he can't just tell somebody else to go ahead and do it because that person, that next shliach, can't make the statement of I saw, being written and signed. And he also can't say that hey, someone told me because it's not edus, right? So what happens? So maybe give this So he goes ahead. You can make another messenger, but you have to go to Beis Din, bring in the Beis Din. All right, and then he gets the Aimer Lifneim, and then he says right in front of the Beis Din with the other shliach there, right? And then he says it would be written and signed in front of me in front of the Beis Din. So the Beis Din says, okay, it was written and signed in front of them. Now you're free to go ahead, shliach number 2, to deliver the get to the wife because the first one was sick. Right? In the last, the final shliach does not say it was written and signed in front of him because that's not a true statement. Ella, what does he say? Aimer shaliach Beis Din ani. I am a messenger of the Beis Din. Beis Din approved of the delivery of this get right here, and therefore I was appointed by Beis Din. Fine. Zok the Gemara. Amalei Rabban Lavi me the Rabbi Avahu. By Sabay me Rabbi Avahu. Shaliach. So he asked for Rabbi Avahu. Shaliach the Shaliach. Mashe Shaliach Allah. Can the Shaliach of the shaliach, in other words, shaliach messenger number 2, can he make number 3 alone, or is it or one shaliach can make one and that's it? Don't even ask that question. Our mission says ein hashliach ha'achara, right? Our mission doesn't say the second shaliach, right? Rather, it says the last. So it could be even if there's 3 or 4 of them. So michlal the mashvei shaliach. You can see over here that shaliach number 2 can make shaliach number 3. So you want to ask a question? Ask this question. When the shliach makes another shliach, is it be done in Beis Din or not? You don't even need to ask us, because the Mishnah says, shaliach Beis Din ani. He says, I'm a shaliach Beis Din. So obviously, if one is being made a shaliach from the shaliach, that has to be done in front of the Beis Din. And Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak has the previous discussion. He actually a slightly different way. So they asked before Avime the son of Rabbi Avo. So by Rabbi Avo, Shaliach the Shaliach, Kimashi Shaliach Beis Din or Shelo Beis Din. When the Shaliach makes a Shaliach, right, and he makes another one when 2 makes 3, right, does it have to be done in Beis Din or not? You should ask, can he make a Shaliach at all? No, that we never thought to ask. Why? That's not because we learned in our Mishnah. It says the shliach acharon michlal the shliach mashe shliach. We infer from here that yes, there is a line of messengers, and therefore that's the reason why we never asked that question. So actually, that which we ask in Beis Din or shelo Beis Din, right? When it's done in Beis Din or not Beis Din. Hanami, like also you don't need to look further than our Mishnah. It says over there, I am a messenger of Beis Din, Michlal, that the shlichus was set up or based from Beis Din. Omar Rabba Shaliach Be'eretz Yisrael Oisa Kama Shluchim. A shliach in Eretz Yisrael, i.e., where you don't have to say Fanenachta. He can make, there could be a line of multiple messengers. Samar Rav Ashi, Imeis Rishon, but if the first one dies, but Lukula, all of them are batal, because since, right, the husband made Shaliach A his Shaliach, so when B gets from A and C gets from B and D gets from C, it all comes from Koach A. And if A dies, then it's like the Shaliach dies, you can't deliver the get. So Amar Marbara of Rashi, the Abba, that which my father said, the Katnusa, it must have been said in his youth. Why? Right? If the husband dies, so the shliach is still alive, right? Can you still deliver the get after the husband dies, right? No, right? The marriage is already over, right? So the marriage is already over, so there's no get, right? It can't be chal afterwards. So kfulu mikach man kasu, mikach the baal kasu. So who does the strength of the get come from? It comes from the dependency of the husband. Is the husband alive or not? So isi the baal, isnu lekulu. Less of the baal, less of the lekulu. If the husband is alive, then it works. If the husband is not alive, then it doesn't work. So it's not coming from mikayach of the shaliach. From Shliach A, it's coming from the Kach of the husband. So even if Shliach A dies, it shouldn't make a difference because the husband is still coming from him. And now, there's a person who sent a get to his wife. So Amar Shliach, so he said, I don't know who she is. You want me to give it to her, but I don't know. I wouldn't recognize her. Go find Abba Bar Menyume. He knows who my wife is. So Elisve, give it to him. So go ahead and give it to him, and then he'll go ahead and deliver it. So his job, this guy, was basically to go ahead and give the get to Abba Bar Menyume. So Asav lo Ashkach. So he went looking for Abba Bar Menyume, could not find him. So the Ashkach Abba Bar Menyume, so Ashkach the Rabbi Avo, the Rabbi Chanina Bar Papa, the Rabbi Yitzchak Nachla. So he found three rabbis, right, who were sitting there, right, three to make a basin, and V'Yasef Rav Safra Gavai. And Rav Safra was sort of like sitting across from this basin of three. So Amrulay, Maser Milach Kamai Didan. Why don't you go ahead, present this get to us, right? How it was given to you and who it was from. And the and therefore, when we see Abba Bar Menyume, right, he comes to our court a lot, we'll give it to him, and then he'll deliver the get. So Rav Safra turned to the three Rabbanim, to Ravo, Rabbi Chanin, Rabbi Papa, and Rabbi Yitzchak, and he said to them, this shaliach was not appointed by the husband to deliver a get, right, to the wife. He was appointed to find basically Abba Bar Menyume. So he didn't really have the power of divorce. So how could you guys, the Beis Din, take over from the koach of the divorcing? You're not an agent of divorce. You're just an agent of finding the person who's going to go ahead and deliver the get. So you have no shaychus to the gerushin. So they became embarrassed. This is talking good. Samarava. So Kavchinu Rav Safra the Talasa Rabbanan. Right. So Rava says, right. With one statement, the Rav Safra was able to basically to go ahead and chop down these three ordained rabbis. So Rav Ashi, my Kavchinu. How so? How did he how did he get them? Right. How did he stump them? Right? Did he say when only Abba Bar Menyume can deliver the get and not you? No, he actually wanted this guy to deliver the get. The guy's like, I don't know who your wife is. It's okay if you find out Menyume, he can go ahead and do it. But he didn't say only him and not you. He didn't exclude him from gerushin. So really, this individual, the shaliach, did have the power to divorce, and therefore he was able to go ahead and testify in Beis Din. And a little bit same instance, some of a different version. Ikadamri. Amar Rava. So Rava says, "Kafchinu Rav Safra leTlasa Rabbanan." Right, Smuchi Beteusa. So he says no. So he says that which Rav Safra attacked him. It was he was wrong. Some Rav Ashi, my Tusa. I don't understand what's the mistake. My Kamerle Abba Bar Menyume v'loyat. So he said to him, Abba Bar Menyume, and not you. So therefore, according to this version, what really the husband or the shaliach has zero shaychus to delivery of the get, and therefore he was not able to really be appointed by the Beis Din, and therefore Rav Safra's argument with the Beis Din was a good argument. And how the person was sent a get to his wife. So the shaliach do not give it to her until 30 days, right? 30 days from now, and then give it to her. Eitnis. The good to listen Yamin. And then the Einis happened to this Shaliach within the 30 days. He wasn't able to go ahead and be able to go ahead and deliver it afterwards. So also made the Rava came for Rava. So when someone is or Chayla, when someone is sick, what's the reason? Mishum Einis, it's an Einis. Where we say that someone is Chayla is able to give it to someone else to go ahead and deliver the get. That was the first mission we saw today. So Hainami understood. There's also an Einis, the same thing as Chayla. So he should be able to go ahead and point the Shaliach. Samarlei, okay. Go ahead and tell us, exactly what happened, who gave you the get, and the bas and yamin. Then after 30 days, then we'll go ahead and make a shaliach for him to go ahead and deliver the get to her after 30 days. So Amar Le Rabbanan LeRava V'ha Shaliach Shalei Nitan LeGershinu. This Shaliach, right, on day 13, right, was not really a messenger to deliver a get. He couldn't deliver because right. You know, on day 13 he couldn't deliver the get, so you can't have him go to Beis Din and say and him appoint someone for a gerusha before then. So how are you able to do that? So since he was basically given the authority to go ahead and divorce her after 30 days, so therefore, even before the 30 days are up, he's still an appointee of gerushin, of divorce, and therefore he's able to go ahead and give it over to Beis Din beforehand, even though it's not, the time is not up yet, right? So nevertheless, he's able to go ahead and have the koach to do that. Why don't we be concerned that perhaps they made up? Right, they within the 30 days they got together, and then perhaps they're intimate, and therefore possible get it'll be an old get. And why don't we be patient for that for 30 days? So Milo Tanad, do we not learn? A person says, person says,
why would that annul the get?
Because over there we have a takana that if they're misyached together, they have yichud together after the get was dated, it's right. It's not good. Or we had a question before. What was the reason? Right. So, but we don't allow that because then it's considered to be a predated
it's not
get.
Allowed, even if the actual it's
the get right shouldn't be chal. It's not right. So the Gemara says. So a person says, "This is your get from now, right? From today, January 1st. If I don't return by the 31st." And the guy dies in September. Haray's a get, right? This is a get from January 1st because he didn't. The condition was not fulfilled. He never returned. Right? He died. We ask earlier. Perhaps he appeased her between the times of January and September before he died, and therefore, if that's the case, then the guy would not be chal. This is over there was a special case. He says that if she says that I didn't see him, I didn't see my husband, then believe her. Mm-hmm. So therefore, she makes a statement of, I never saw him between now and the time he died. So therefore, we believe her. We get the get over here, right? So that was, it was not necessarily the case. So ichsif. So in this case. So he was embarrassed. So how could you go ahead and give over after 30 days? Perhaps the husband was with her. However, the Seif Igla Milsa Darusa Havi, right? She was just in a rusa. There's a get from the betrothal, and not from a full marriage, and therefore they're normally not intimate together. They're normally not together, and therefore Havi and Amarava Yamar ben Nesua Yamar Rusa, and if that's the case. Right? Only by Nesua maybe is the chashash of it together. But over here, this case, the reason why he's able to go ahead and give it over Beis Din, and Beis Din assumed that they were never together, is because she was just in a rusa, and with an arusa, we're not that they were intimate together. All right, we'll stop here.
How far in advance realistically can you date it, future date it? Where it's not?
You can't